There comes a moment in the life of every sensitive soul. A moment you can't quite name, but you feel it in your bones. It's the day you realize the weight you're carrying is not all yours. You've known it for years, though you never had the words. That strange heaviness when you walk into a room and sense the storm no one speaks of. That restless pulse you carry home after sitting next to a stranger as if their pain had slipped quietly into your own heart. And for so long, you told yourself, I'm just sensitive. Maybe too sensitive. But here is the truth. You were never too much. You were simply unshielded. You are an empath, and that gift, when unguarded, can become a slow undoing. Because when your light shines bright and pure, it does not only attract love and kindness, it also draws shadows, hungry ones. They come not always with malice, but with emptiness. They see in you what they cannot find in themselves, and without even knowing it, they reach for you. Not to hold you, but to feed from you. And here is the danger. The more you give, the emptier you become. The more you bend, the more invisible you grow. Until one day you look in the mirror and realize you no longer recognize the eyes looking back at you. But this story, your story, is not just about loss. It is about awakening, because there comes another moment in the life of every empath. A moment when the weight becomes unbearable, and instead of bending further, you decide to stand. This is that threshold, where you stop asking, how can I save them, and start asking, how can I save myself? Where you stop dimming your light to keep others comfortable, and begin to burn in your full truth. If you've ever felt consumed, unseen, or worn down by the very people you love, stay with me, because once you understand the pattern, you can break it. And when you break it, you will never go back. You weren't born carrying the weight of the world. You learned it. Somewhere, long before you knew the word empath, you became one. Maybe it started in childhood, when the air in your home could change without warning, when you learned to read the weather in someone's face before they spoke a single word, when the tone of footsteps down the hallway told you whether it was safe to breathe or better to disappear. You adapted. You became a listener of silences, a watcher of small movements, a furrowed brow, a clenched jaw, a shift in someone's breathing. Your body became a finely tuned instrument, playing notes that no one else could hear. And because you could feel so much, you learned to fix, to soothe, to keep the peace before the storm ever broke. Not because you were noble, but because it was necessary. And here is the quiet truth. What begins as survival can become identity. The little one who learned to feel for safety grows into an adult who feels for everyone. An adult who absorbs the moods, the wounds, the chaos of others, without ever asking if it is theirs to carry. But nature loves balance. And so the empath often attracts the opposite, those who cannot feel enough, those who have walled off their pain so completely that they search for light outside themselves. And you, with your open heart, your endless listening, your willingness to pour, and poor. You look like salvation to them. But here's the part no one told you. They're not looking for partnership. They're looking for a power source. And every time you give without receiving, every time you carry what is not yours, the unspoken contract deepens. You are the one who feels too much. They are the one who feels too little. And together, you create a perfect storm. You might call it love. They might call it fate. But underneath, it is an ancient pattern, one you've been rehearsing since the first time you thought, if I can keep them calm, maybe I'll be safe. It begins quietly, a glance that feels like recognition, a conversation that feels like you've known each other for lifetimes. They see you, really see you, or at least it feels that way. But this connection is not what it seems. It is not just romance. It is not just friendship. It is the law of opposites pulling you together. You, the one who feels too much. Them, the one who feels too little. Two halves that believe they've found their missing piece. They are drawn to your warmth the way the cold seeks fire, to your openness the way a locked room craves air. They don't just want to be near your light. They want to live inside it. And for a while, it feels intoxicating. They tell you things they've told no one. They marvel at your understanding, your patience, your heart that never seems to run out. You feel needed, maybe even chosen. But here's the truth. The heart resists. They are not falling in love with you. They are falling in love with the way they feel in your presence, with the relief you bring from the emptiness they've been avoiding. And the more you give, the more they take. Not always out of cruelty, but out of hunger. The kind of hunger that can never be filled by someone else's soul. Over time, the balance tilts. Your laughter grows quieter. Your needs slip to the back of the line. Your light dims, not all at once, but like a candle burning down, inch by inch. And here is the cruelest part. When your light begins to fade, they will not rush to save you, because they did not come for you. They came for the fire. It doesn't happen in one dramatic moment. It's not a sudden collapse. It's a slow erosion. The kind you barely notice until one day you look back and realize whole pieces of yourself are missing. It starts with the small things. You let them speak over you because they're just passionate. You cancel your plans because they really need you right now. You bite your tongue when something hurts because you don't want to make things worse. And each time you fold yourself smaller, it feels like you're being kind. It feels like love, but love that demands your silence is not love. It's consumption. Your boundaries become negotiable. Your no becomes a maybe. And your maybe becomes a yes you never wanted to give. You learn to measure your worth by how much you can endure. You start calling exhaustion loyalty. You start calling pain patience. And slowly, you disappear. At first, you tell yourself, it's just a rough patch. You cling to the good moments, the laughter, the connection, the spark you felt in the beginning. You replay them like a favorite song, ignoring the fact that the melody has changed. But deep down, you know, the warmth you feel now is just the faint glow of what you once had. And here's the thing about always being the giver. It teaches others that they never have to give back. They start to believe your energy is endless. They mistake your willingness for capacity. They mistake your forgiveness for permission. The cost of self-sacrifice is not just burnout. It's identity theft, not by them, but by yourself. Because each time you silence your needs to protect the bond, you teach yourself that you don't matter as much as they do. Your dreams get smaller. Your laughter feels borrowed. Even your body begins to speak in ways you can't ignore. The tightness in your chest, the heaviness in your limbs, the headaches that no medicine can touch. This is not weakness. This is your soul sending distress signals. You begin to dream of drowning, of running through endless hallways with no doors, of losing your voice while trying to scream. These aren't random nightmares. They are messages from the part of you that still remembers what freedom feels like. But here's the hard truth. They will not wake you. They cannot, because the arrangement works for them as it is, and so the question becomes, how much of yourself are you willing to lose in the name of love? How long will you mistake self-erasure for devotion? And how many times will you abandon yourself before you realize you are the one you've been waiting for? Here is the truth no one wants to hear. They will not change because you love them more. They will not awaken because you keep showing them patience. They will not heal because you keep handing them pieces of your soul. Change does not happen in the warmth of your endless giving. It happens when the mirror shatters, when the reflection they've been borrowing from you suddenly disappears. And yes, that often means leaving, not always in body, but in energy. It means cutting off the supply of your light, so they are forced to face their own darkness. But here's what's hardest for the empath to accept. Even then, they might not change. Because change is not born from your sacrifice. It is born from their readiness. And readiness is not something you can give them. You've been taught since childhood that love is proven by how much you endure. That safety comes from keeping others happy. That belonging is earned by fixing what's broken. But that was never love. That was survival. And the thing about survival strategies is, they don't care about your happiness. They care about keeping you alive, even if it means keeping you small. So let me ask you, how many more years will you spend carrying emotions that are not yours? How many more nights will you lose sleep replaying conversations you can't fix? How many more times will you confuse intensity with intimacy, chaos with chemistry? The truth about change is this: it starts with you, not with them, not with us. With you deciding that your peace is more important than their comfort. With you deciding that your boundaries are not negotiable. And when you do, something remarkable happens. You stop asking, how can I get them to see my worth? And you start asking, why have I been trying to prove it at all? Because the moment you stop fighting for a place in someone else's life, you begin to take your place in your own. There comes a moment when the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. When you hear yourself telling the same story for the 100th time and you realize it's not changing, when the exhaustion in your bones feels older than you are, when the idea of losing them feels terrifying, but the idea of staying feels worse. This is the edge, the threshold, and it is here that you choose, repeat or rise. Awakening is not a lightning bolt. It's a series of small, sacred rebellions. It's catching yourself in the middle of saying yes and pausing long enough to ask, do I actually want this? It's noticing that tightness in your chest and honoring it as a warning, not an inconvenience. It's remembering that someone else's disappointment is not your emergency. The first act of an awakened empath is discernment. To stop absorbing everything and start asking, is this mine? Because the moment you realize it's not, you can lay it down. The second act is boundary as devotion, not punishment, not walls to keep love out, but fences that protect the garden of your soul. Boundaries are how you say, I can love you without losing me. The third act is self-choosing. Every day, especially on the days you feel guilty for it. Because your worth does not depend on how much you give away. It's in how deeply you own what's already yours. And here's the shift most empaths never see coming. When you stop overgiving, the right people stay. The ones who only came for the fire will fade. The ones who can stand beside your flame without taking from it, those are the ones worth keeping. Awakening is not about hardening your heart. It's about strengthening your spine. It's about letting your light burn steady, not for the world to consume, but for you to live in. So start small. Say, I need time to think before you commit. Notice where you feel drained and where you feel alive. Practice letting someone else sit in their discomfort without rushing to rescue them. Every no you speak from truth is a yes to yourself. And when you start living like that, you don't just change your life. You change the kind of life that can even reach you. And so, here we are, at the place where your story can split in two. One path is the same road you've walked 1,000 times, the one where you keep bending until you break, keep giving until you vanish. The other is unknown. It's the path where you choose yourself. I won't lie to you. Choosing yourself will feel wrong at first. It will feel selfish. It will feel like you're letting people down. Because for so long, your worth has been measured by how much you could carry. And when you put some of it down, the silence will be deafening. But listen to me. That silence is not emptiness. It is space. Space where you can hear yourself again. Where you can remember what your voice sounds like without the echo of everyone else's needs. Here's the truth. Protecting your energy is not cruelty. It is clarity. And clarity is the highest form of love for yourself and for anyone who truly belongs in your life. The 3-step reset, an exercise to begin now. I want to give you something you can do today, not next week, not when you're ready, today. Because insight without action just becomes another story you tell yourself. Step 1. The check-in. Find a quiet space. Close your eyes. Think of one relationship in your life. It could be romantic, family, friendship, work. Now ask yourself, when I'm with this person, do I feel drained or do I feel alive? And no excuses. No, but sometimes. Just your first truth. If you feel drained, don't explain it away. Name it. Step 2. The line in the sand. Write down one thing you will no longer do in this relationship. It could be answering calls late at night when you're exhausted. It could be saying yes to plans you don't want. It could be allowing certain topics or tones. Make it clear. Make it real. Step 3. The anchor. Decide on one thing you will do for yourself instead, not for them, not for the relationship, for you. It could be taking a walk. It could be sitting in silence. It could be starting a project you've put off because you were too busy fixing everyone else's problems. Anchor your energy back into yourself. Do this once, then do it again, then again. Small acts of self-return will build the kind of strength that doesn't shout. It simply stands. Because here's the thing. You are not here to be a bottomless well for other people's thirst. You are not here to trade your peace for a seat at a table that requires you to starve yourself to stay. You are here to live as a whole being, one whose light is steady, because it is fed from within. And yes, when you change, some people will leave. Let them. Not because you no longer care, but because you no longer agree to be consumed. The ones meant for you will not be threatened by your boundaries. They will be grateful for them. Imagine this. A life where you wake up without dread, where your relationships feel like mutual exchange, not silent transactions, where your no is as sacred as your yes, where you feel full, not because someone else poured into you, but because you poured into yourself first. That is not a fantasy. That is a choice, and it begins the moment you decide you are worth protecting. So I'll leave you with this question, and I want you to carry it with you like a key in your pocket. Does this honor who I am becoming? Ask it about every conversation, every request, every connection. If the answer is no, have the courage to walk away. Because the truth is, every time you choose what drains you over what fills you, you are teaching the world how to treat you. Today, teach it something new. And if this message found you at exactly the right time, if it stirred something in you, if it made you see your story in a new light, don't let it fade when the video ends. We are building a space for souls like yours. A place where we speak truth, where we learn the language of limits, where we protect our light without apology. So before you go, make sure you subscribe to Soul of the Mind. Because your journey doesn't end here. It's only just beginning. And you were never meant to walk it alone.